So good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Professor Anuj Kapoor from SME IIT Jodhpur, who is the Assistant Professor and Placements Chair at SME IIT Jodhpur. Dr. Anuj Kapoor holds a PhD from Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi, and his research areas include consumer psychology towards web-based platforms, collaborative consumption, digital transformation, and maturity. So, prior to joining the PhD program, he has worked in the industry for 6 years across marketing, innovation, and consulting domains. He was responsible for setting up the innovations function at SDFC Life based out of Mumbai, and he spearheaded the analytics function at Michael Page India, Gurgaon. He holds an MBA from Symbiosis International University, Bremen University of Applied Sciences, Germany, and BE in Electronics and Communication from Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon. Anuj sir, we welcome you on behalf of College Dunia, and we'll be really glad to have your insights on the placement processes and several other important details about School of Management and Entrepreneurship, IIT Jodhpur.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sejal. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, sir, beginning with the interview, how do you train your students for better career opportunities ahead?
All right. So, see, at SME, there are a couple of factors that we really focus upon. One is the curriculum that you look at is industry aligned. It has been developed among faculty members and bases the inputs from the industry. The idea is to give a sense to the students of what are the skill sets, areas that should really focus upon once they graduate. That is one part. Second is we have this mentor-mentee session at the School of Management and Entrepreneurship, wherein every student is mentored by a faculty. Again, the intent is to help the students throughout the 2 years in terms of what possible roles, opportunities that they should pursue. Third is we have a very conducive environment for the corporates, industry interactions. We have industry interactions that go ahead throughout the year. And again, the idea is to get professionals from the industry who handhold the students in terms of various career paths that they can go ahead with. For example, if someone is majoring in marketing, then we intend to get someone who is in brand management, who is in, let's say, marketing research, marketing analytics, who help the students handhold them with multiple career opportunities. So that's how typically we help students with the career opportunities ahead.
So these mentors, so are they faculties, or you have a different set of senior students also mentoring the first year students?
All right. So one, we have faculty mentors who, as I said, handhold students throughout the 2 years. In addition to that, this year we have also started off and initiated the concept of an industry mentor. So someone from the industry who also handholds the students in terms of preparations, life ahead, post their MBA. Now, the batch which joined us in 2020, they're the first batch, first cohort. So they will be passing out in 2022. So this time, of course, the first years have got seniors, and of course, there is an informal mentor that happens, a mentor-mentee relationship that happens amongst themselves as well. But in a formalized fashion, we have industry professionals as well as the faculty mentors.
That's great, sir. So what is the average placement rate at SME IIT Jodhpur?
All right. So as I said, the placement statistics we'll only get to know perhaps by the mid of this year, because this is the first batch which will be passing out. But as on date, there is around 60% of our batch which have been placed. We had a 100% summer internship last year, which I believe, and of course, the credit goes to all the faculties, the head, the directors specifically at IIT Jodhpur, because being the first batch and having achieved a 100% summer internship was something which, at least to me, was remarkable. Otherwise, the idea is, since it's the first batch, we might not have 100% placement. We did. For the second years, we had 60%, as I said. If you talk about the numbers, I think the highest compensation that the students have got is somewhere close to 21 lakhs, which is the CTC. The average that we have currently is around 15 lakhs. And I think 16.5 is the median that we're looking at for the final year students.
So the statistics are quite remarkable and quite convincing for MBA students who have appeared for CAT this year. So what methodology or strategy do you follow to help students prepare for the placements?
All right. So it's a threefold strategy that that we follow. First, as I said, at the institute level, at School of Management specifically, we have that mentor-mentee relationship, which again handholds the student. Second is, placements is not something which just happens before the internships or the final placements, which is before the D-Day. It's a process which is a continuous process. Throughout 2 years, we handhold the students, help them in their capability building. So the approach that we follow is, one, the in-house faculty. We have got very able set of faculty members at School of Management and Entrepreneurship. Few of them have prior industry experience. So first is intrinsic, which is the in-house team. They help the students in terms of GD preparations, gamifications, interviews, mock interviews, so on and so forth. That is one part. The second is, with the help of the industry professionals, we conduct mock interviews, which again help the students to prepare for job opportunities. And this is specifically done by hiring managers or HR managers who are actually recruiters, so that the student gets some sense of what to expect in interviews and typically what is a work profile when they'll be joining in post their MBA. And the third part is a rigorous outreach that we have at SME. So as I said, throughout the year, we have industry interaction series. We have our Sandstone Summit, which is the flagship event at SME, wherein we have got 4 lineups ready: the Impresario, the Presidium, the In Conversation, and the HR Shastra. Now, the names that I said basically relate to a particular theme. Again, the idea is to get people from the HR domains, from hiring managers, mid to senior level executives, to come on board and share their experiences and handhold the students. Right. So as I said, intrinsic. So just to cut it short, intrinsic is wherein the faculty member help the students to prepare for the placements and the careers ahead. External, which is the outreach, wherein we connect with the industry professionals. So that is pretty much the strategy that we follow to prepare the students.
So I believe this connect with the industry is quite helpful to the students, and it actually gives them an outlook about what to expect from the market outside once they graduate from SME. So being the placement chair, what are your roles and responsibilities?
All right. So I have 3 broad responsibilities. One is to develop, initiate, and nurture the relations with the corporates. How do we get them on board, not only for summers or final placements, but any interaction that we possibly can get with industry professionals and organizations? That is first. Second is, once we have developed those links with the corporates, how do we really connect them and convince them to recruit students for summers as well as the final placements? So getting companies on board for summers, final placements, and life project is the second set of responsibility. And the third set of responsibility is the capabilities building for the students, how to prepare them for the placements along with my faculty colleagues. So these are the 3 broad areas that I really focus on as the chairperson placements.
That's great. How do you strategize the placement process for the students?
All right. So we have a very robust placements team consisting of a faculty in charge, which is me, a senior manager, and 2 sets of placement team members, the junior placecom and the senior placecom. The junior placecom consists of around 8 members. The senior placecom consists of around 7 members. The idea is we develop campus grids for corporates, for all organizations. So it's something which is internal to SME, wherein we try to map industry verticals with the set of competencies which the students have. That is one. Second is, every individual is assigned a specific sector. So for example, one of the students would be assigned, let's say, consulting. So he or she would be responsible for mapping the hiring managers and the business managers of multiple consulting firms to the campus grid that we develop. And starting from the initial connect, having them on board, and then eventually close looping the entire conversation is part of that particular individual. So that is how we map all industries, develop the campus grid, and carry out the placement process.
Okay. So being an assistant professor and the placement chair as well, you're inbuilt in the ecosystem. You're a major part of the ecosystem. So how do you look forward to the placement processes, considering the skill set of the students that are being developed at SME and the industry requirements that go hand in hand?
All right. So as you mentioned, it's a huge boost to SME being part of the IIT ecosystem. Because to be very honest, not a lot of companies might hire from SME because it's something which is relatively very new. But the moment we have an association with an IIT, of course, it gives us that recognition, that credibility that, the organizations would be more than happy to sort of come to SME, which is the management school at IIT Jodhpur. So of course, that is one part wherein we really get that boost from the IIT Jodhpur ecosystem. Second is we have multiple interdisciplinary programs embedded within IITJ itself. So whenever company comes in, they have specific requirements. We're looking at someone who's a BTech plus someone who need to have a knowledge about, let's say, specific area. Plus, it's also an add-on if he or she has some specific information about a third area. That ecosystem gives us that flexibility because we can then handpick the set of students who we know have those sets of capabilities, and then of course align that particular student with that particular company. So I hope that answers your question, Seji.
Yes, sir. So I just have a follow-up question on this. So you just listed out a few advantages of being a part of IIT. That it helps in placements and it is a major factor which the companies might consider when they are coming for placement. What would be the other benefits of being a part of the IIT? I mean, it is a dilemma in minds of many students of whether to do an MBA from an IIM, which is not in the top tier, or do it from an IIT. So what would be your insights on this topic of doing an MBA from an IIT?
All right. That's a very good question, Sejal. In fact, now again, I would not really want to compare it with an IIM. Of course, they have their own sets of advantages and pros and cons. But what I'll do talk about is about being part of an IIT system. So as I said, there is a management school, which is part of the IIT system. In addition to that, there are multiple options available to the students to explore in terms of career opportunities. So we have an incubation set up within IITJ itself, wherein students can be a part of in case they want to incubate a startup of their own. We have multiple interdisciplinary programs where it's always important for a student to get some perspective from some other areas. It's like flavors. When you eat food, you have flavors of different, spices and aromas and all of that. It's exactly something similar. Once you're too much into management, you become, unidirectional. But the moment you have flavors from other areas, other departments, humanities, social science, engineering, you also see the amount of efforts that these guys put in. You get to learn something from them. And that is a huge advantage to the management students. Of course, to others as well, but I'm just talking specifically with regards to the management students, because of course, it's also a question for a lot of aspirants who perhaps wish to consider SME. That the exposure that you get across department is phenomenal. Of course, you get to work with some of the best brains in the country, perhaps in the world, being an IIT, because the students who crack IIT, of course, they are amongst the best in terms of their performance. So they get to compete with them. And I think it's at the end of the day, it's a huge boost to them as well. The moment your environment is competitive, like-minded people who perhaps are better than you, it gives you some chance to improve on yourself. And I think that is what the students really benefit from. I've witnessed multiple joint campuses between IITs and IIMs, and somehow what I've realized is, I think relatively management students from an IIT specifically have that perspective. It's not others don't have, but certainly they have that perspective which a lot of students miss out on just because they're part of an IIT system. So I think it's a huge advantage to the students being part of an IIT.
That was quite an insightful answer. I hope it helps a lot of students build up their mindset about what institute they want to choose after they have appeared for CAT. So one last question from my end. Any advice you would like to give to the students who are seeking jobs or are ready to be placed?
All right. So a couple, in fact. So I can go about it on and on because that is what I do as part of my job, but I'll just try to keep it short. One is the students and everyone needs to understand when you look out for a job, of course, skill sets are important. There's no doubt about it, but majority of the cases, it's about a cultural fitment. Whether you are a culturally fit individual in an organization, rather than do you know something. It's their job to sort of handhold you and train you in what you already know. but are you a cultural fitment is more important. That is one. So students, if get rejected, because they're bound to fail, they're bound to get rejected by organizations. That is absolutely fine, part and parcel of your career. They should not really take it too seriously. Why am I being rejected and all of that? As I said, it's about a cultural fitment. Every individual has strengths, have positive points, have skill sets which they develop over a period of time. And they set trajectories for their lives again over a period of time, which they should be aware of. So all those who are looking for placements, what I'll say is, one, be very thorough with your CV. The only interface between the students and the company is the CV that they prepare. Because of course, it talks a lot about the work that you have done till date. So you should be really thorough with whatever points that you mention. If you've mentioned something and you're not too confident about it, my advice would be just take it off your CV. Would not take you anywhere. That is one. Apart from the CV part, second is focus on the basics. Normally what we prefer is we'll try to get into details of multiple jargons and some technologies which we might not be really confident about, and we really miss out on the basics of, let's say, any area, any concept. Students should really focus on the basics. Third is, every student would have some strong points, some strengths. They should make it even stronger. They should really work on it, because at the end of the day, interview is like driving a car. It's like, which direction do you drive the interviewer? So if you can really focus on the strengths that you have, take the interviewer to that direction, I think it would really benefit the students. And most importantly, just be you. In the interview, do not pretend to be someone else. Just be yourself, have a smiling face. Everyone prefers to have someone who has a smiling face to be part of his or her team. So I think that is what I'll tell the students. Just don't think too much, have a smiling face, go for the interview. There is a job that is meant for you and you will crack it eventually. I mean, if that sums up, Sejal.
Yes, sir. That totally answers my question. So, sir, I would, at the end of this interview, I would really like to thank you for sharing your insights. I am pretty sure that all these insights will be quite helpful to students who are appearing for placements and who have appeared for CAT and are looking for admissions. And it has been great connecting with you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Sejal. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for having me.